proper intro today. Guys, welcome back to the Off-Grid Garage here in sunny, hot Australia. There it is, the Seplos vertical battery box. It is charging now from the rest of the system here. Let me show you what I've done. So I've connected positive, negative here to our Lynx power in, which is still connected to our battery shelf. Here we've got a 66 amp DC circuit breaker. This is the link from the battery shelf to our Powerwall 2.0. And I have connected the vertical battery box as well as the two Seplos Mason batteries here. See this 25mm cable? This goes into the Lynx in as well. And you can also see all the communication cables are connected. This is our battery 1.0 here, lives now in the Seplos Mason battery. This is our master, slave number 1, and this is slave number 2. And these three Seplos BMSs now are reporting combined to the Servo GX via CAN. So you can see the battery shelf is already full. We are charging only with 2.5, almost 0 amps. There's nothing going in or out anymore. If we go to the Servo, we are on 96% and we are charging with 51 amps. And these 51 amps are going into our battery here. Yeah, 51 amps, 51.2 amps. There you can see it. So there should be almost nothing going in here. Now this one is 100% full. And the big Mason is on 0 amps and 98.6%. These version 2 BMSs, they are really bad in resetting to 100% state of charge. I tried a few times and the software on these Seplos BMS is not great. So the version 1 of the Seplos BMS was actually good. You can easily program a reset voltage where the BMS sets to 100%. Version 2, terrible. It almost does not reset to 100% unless you hit an over voltage protection situation. And the version 3 of the Seplos BMSs are better again. They have modified the software and we have far more settings now to configure the BMS and it resets to 100% okay. But the version 2 in these BMSs here, terrible, terrible. So battery is full, battery is full, battery is full. Mason is full, this Mason is full. We are only waiting for this one. I've set the charge voltage to 55.2 volts and yeah, we're still charging with 50 amps. I didn't actually expect that the battery will fully charge today because the weather forecast wasn't, well, it definitely wasn't that pretty. But now it's hammering down. The MPPTs have already throttled down. So we are charging with 50 amps, so we should be ready in about an hour or so. But let me show you the actual battery cells. Here we've got the good old Seplos battery monitor for the version 1 and 2 of the Seplos BMSs. Version 3 of the Seplos BMS needs a different software. All the links for all this stuff is under the video and on my website as well, as always. So here we can have a first look at the combined 16 cells of the Gobelpower batteries. We've got a deviation of 117 millivolt at the moment. Cell number 16 is our highest. It is already peaking at 3.51 volts. Well, it's not too bad actually. And I think cell number 13 is our lowest cell. It is under 3.4 volts. And 13 was one of the cells we have tested before as a single capacity test. And then I discharged them again to bring them roughly back in the ballpark where the other cells are. But as you can see, they are a bit off. So cell number 2, 10 and 13. These are the three cells we have tested. If they peak in any direction, this is because of our testing, which we did before. But at the moment, it is cell number 16, which is a bit of high voltage. But now when the clouds are coming, the actual charging current goes down. And sometimes we have 60, 70 or even 80 amps into this battery. So it actually charged up very quickly. And here having a quick look at these settings. You can see 3.65 volt is our cell over voltage protection. This is when the BMS turns off, and 3.55 it turns back on. I have set the balancer to 3.438 because this voltage times 16 makes roughly 55 volts. And if we keep these 55 volts for half an hour, the BMS is supposed to reset to 100%. But if we dip under these 55 volts just for a split second, it resets the timer again. And I'm balancing only for 45 minutes here. So the chance that the BMS will actually reset to 100% is very, very low in a production environment, because there's always a bit of current going in and out. We will never keep these 55 volts constantly for half an hour in one go. This is a bit of a shitty algorithm they have put in the BMS, but this is just what it is. Yeehaw! We are still charging with 50 amps here. So shouldn't take too long to fully charge this battery. Okay, now after another half an hour or so, the BMS has actually reset to 100% state of charge. Look at this. So obviously it worked with this BMS that if you are over a certain voltage for half an hour, it resets to 100%. Even we have not reached any over voltage protection or something. Yep, no pack voltage protection, nothing. So, and we have 109 millivolt deviation now. We are still charging with 30 amps. So I think the 100% here are not quite true. But this is the first time we are fully charging the battery, and the BMS is now learning what is actually 100%. Yeah, and then we do the full discharge afterwards. We are under 3.5 volts, so this is totally fine. None of the cells is peaking. So we just keep charging and see what's going on. We are close to 55 volts now. So everything seems to be good. Okay, I'll be back when it gets interesting. So here, the 135 ampere hour Mason, 100%. That has worked. This is the version 1 of the BMS. And this BMS here is the same as in the Seplos Mason vertical box. Sits on 98.6. 0 amps going in, so it doesn't move anymore. So, and here I want to show you the Seplos battery or BMS app as well. This is connected to the master now via Bluetooth on my mobile phone, and you can see we have 3 parallel machines and 3 of them are online. So this gives you an overall view over the state of charge. So it's aggregating all the data of all 3 BMSs now together. Got no alarm, no protection, 840 ampere hours. Unfortunately, the Seplos master only assumes that all the other slaves are the same capacity as itself. So it takes 280 ampere hours times 3, 840. And if I just go and disconnect the Seplos vertical box, so I'm just disconnecting the LAN cable, so there's no communication to the master anymore. You should see we still have 3 parallel machines, but online are only 2. It takes a moment to realize for the master there's someone missing, and there we go. And also the capacity has now decreased by 200 and something ampere hours, because it cannot communicate with this slave number 2 anymore. But the master still knows there's supposed to be 3 machines because of the dip switches at the front. I'll show you this in a later video when we parallel all these Seplos batteries together and we have some parallel fun with the Seplos BMSs again. So today it is about the Seplos vertical do-it-yourself battery box. Okay, plug in the communication again. Okay, my friends, I have just isolated our vertical battery now from the rest of the system. Well, it is still connected to the Powerwall 2.0, but I have disconnected all these Seplos boxes here. So I've just took the positive off, so they don't get any charge anymore. They're 100% full. They are sitting here and we park them until we are done with the battery test. And I've also turned off our circuit breaker here, which disconnects our battery shelf system from the Powerwall 2.0. And we need to keep this vertical box here connected to the Powerwall 2.0 because I need this 3 kilowatt Xia inverter later for our discharge test. And now I can control the battery voltage here with the power supply. So we are on 55.4 volts. We are still charging with 7 amps. And this is exactly what we show here as well. Let's see, is it recording? It is recording now. Okay, so now I have full control about the battery and we are charging up to 56 volts now. Because when now one of the cells hits over voltage protection, it just disconnects our charger here, but it doesn't have any effect on the other systems. So it's always good to isolate the battery if you do some battery testing, right? So I'm very pleased to see that cell number 13 has now caught up. It is over 3.5 volts. Cell number 10 is still a bit low and cell number 2 is even lower. So I'm not sure. Yeah, that was my own fault. Anyway, we keep increasing the voltage here. We have cell number 7 is our highest, 3.567 volts. Okay, we're going higher, 56.2. Now even cell 10 is over 3.4 volts. That's good. So it's only cell number 2. Come on, cell number 2, you can do it. Cell number 7 is over 3.6. We are still charging with 10 amps. Deviation is 200 millivolt now. Ooh. Okay, leave this running for a couple of minutes and then I'll be back. Damn it, I'm just 1 second too late. We just have hit the single over voltage protection. Cell number 7 has peaked at 3.65 volts, but we could charge the battery to 56.6 volts around before this actually happened. So this shows that the Gobelpower batteries we put into this Seplos battery box are fairly consistent. So without any top balancing, they charge to 56.6 volts already. So you could put all these cells into one battery, you don't need to top balance them, and you charge them to 55.2, and none of the cells would hit the 3.65 volts. This is how consistent Gobelpower selects these batteries. So pretty good. And our cell number 2 is still limping behind because this was one of our test cells and I have discharged it too much. So obviously now the charge MOSFETs have turned off and now it is discharging to 3.55 volts. This is what the passive balancer does in the BMS now. Once cell number 7 is under 3.55 volts, it starts the charging process again until the cell hits again 3.65 volts, and it keeps cycling until eventually cell number 7 has been balanced down and doesn't hit the 3.65 volts anymore. But this could take days, weeks, months with such a balancer, which the Seplos BMS has. It's a 150 milliamp passive balancer, and we have tested this in all the Seplos videos before. Even overnight, sitting on a constant voltage on a power supply here, it doesn't really balance much. With these high capacity battery cells, 280 ampere hours or more, you really want to get yourself an active balancer and get some help. Talking about help. So I have now connected the Seplos vertical battery here on live support. Looks like it. I've connected all 16 balance cables and they go into the 15 amp NEEEEY active balancer. That is a 15 amp active balancer. If you haven't seen the video about it, I'll link it down below. An amazing product for battery manufacturers, for battery builders, for do-it-yourself people who've got lots of batteries and they need a bit of maintenance. This is the one you want. It's not cheap, but you need only one. All the balance cables come with crocodile clamps. They are numbered. Takes about 5 minutes to connect this whole balancer to your battery. Now let's see what it can do. There we go. Nothing shows because I haven't plugged in any of the balance cables yet. Okay, let's do this right now. Okay, so the first 8 are in and we can immediately see we've got a reading here of these cells. Plug in the second connector and we should have all 16 cells now reading. There we go, perfect. And there's also the cat. Simba, was machst du denn hier? Okay, just looking. So if we turn on the balancer here, 15 amps, there we go. And I tell you what, 15 amps, this is a 2.5 square millimeter cable, they are getting warm. Okay, it is now doing its thing. We've got a deviation of 196 millivolt here. The overall pack voltage is 55 volts, because the lowest cell voltage is still cell number 2. Yeah, this is our problem child, right? So it is discharging now cell number 13 and puts all the energy into cell number 2. So we should actually see cell number 2 coming back from the death very quickly. So interesting here is that we can still see the deviation is increasing, right? Because we are still charging with 15 amps into this battery. So obviously cells which are over 3.6 volts and still getting 15 amps of charge current, they still rise in voltage. So the deviation actually arises for the moment. That is totally normal. And I'm back. So we are now balancing for exactly 30 minutes and we are down to 10 millivolt, 15 millivolt, 20 millivolt deviation. The balancer still turns off from time to time because we're hitting 3.65 volts. But even the lowest voltage cell now has 3.62 volts. At 58 volts, right, I would consider this battery as fully top balanced now. 13 millivolt now, deviation. 14 the balancer shows. It is still doing its thing and it will balance the battery down to 1 millivolt deviation only at this voltage then eventually. But half an hour, 30 minutes and your battery is fully top balanced. We did come from 175 millivolt or something deviation half an hour ago down to under 20 millivolt. And there was no initial top balancing with these battery cells here. They, as you have seen, I put them in the Seplos box as they were coming out of the Gobelpower packages and I just stacked them into the battery box, connected them, and this is our first full charge. And with the help of the NEEY active balancer, half an hour later, fully top balanced. So this is how you can do it as well. You don't need to parallel them all and wait for weeks with your 5 amp battery charger. And this will also work with any other active balancer. Even with these capacitive balancers here, connect them and slowly increase the voltage to 58 volts until everything is balanced and you are done, you are set. Okay, let's plug in the vehicle and do a full discharge test. So the only other thing I need to do is install the smart shunt and then we are good to go for the test. So I'm now connected to the smart shunt test at 100% obviously. The battery, this is 280 ampere hour battery. All the other parameters don't matter at the moment. The only thing we need to do is reset our history. Boom! Everything on 0. Okay, so we are at 58.1 volts. We've got a deviation of 3 millivolt now. It took another 10 minutes to install this smart shunt and the balancer was still connected, so crazy. Have a look. There you can see it. So we had 58.1 volts, 5 millivolt deviation. This is in 40-45 minutes completely 100% top balance. So okay, let me plug in the Tesla and then we discharge this battery. Okay, turn off the charger. Tesla is plugged in. Start charging with 5 amps and we have to see how much amps we actually take out of the battery. I want to get around 0.2 C. Okay, here we go. 21. So we probably have to go all the way up to 10 amps into the vehicle. This is 44. Give it 11 amps. 50. Wow, look at the voltage difference here. What is going on with our cell number 16? It is on 3.1 volts already. Something is not right. Okay, I'm stopping discharging here. And we check the connections on cell number 16 again. Cell number 1, cell number 16. There's this one up here. Oh yeah, this bus bar. Yeah, this bus bar is hot. Oh, look at this. Loose connection and not marked. Whew. That's why you always check and do these discharge tests. Well, this nut is completely loose. It's only hand tightened. There's a red mark, but not here. Okay, 6 Newton meters. And go for it. There we go. All right. I was just going to say there was 160 millivolt deviation and we have just started discharging. That couldn't be true. Start charging again with the vehicle and see what the deviation is now. Because we are now in the flat area of the curve already, 3.3 volts, and there should be no deviation. So this is always a good indication there's a loose connection, which it was. Okay, ramping up. Seven millivolt deviation now at 52. This looks so much better. This is perfect now. Let's have a look in the smart shunt. Yep, here we go. 51, 52 amps we have discharging. That's perfect. 8 millivolt deviation. Everything is fine now. After an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours or something, I will have a look with the infrared camera as well on the whole battery and see if there are any hotspots in the cabling or something. So, because this is a brand new build battery, we have to check all these things just for safety purposes. As you have seen, you easily miss one of the nuts, even on top of the BMS where all the flexible bus bars are now. There could be one screw which I have missed. So it's always a good idea to check this all twice and use the infrared camera if you have one, just to see if there's any heat building up, any hotspots or something. If you haven't got one, I'll link one down below. Alright my friends, I think we will see us again for the infrared test in a couple of hours and then we go from there. You have a wonderful late afternoon. See you then. So we still have this little transformer there with 45 degrees or something. Nothing unusual on this BMS. Let's have a look at all the bus bars. I've got like 35 degrees on the bus bar. And here the battery as such. What's the maximum temperatures here? What are we talking about? 33, 35 degrees. 33 degrees. That's the actual battery cells. And when I touch these terminals, I would say they are less than hand warm. Yep, no issue at all. Everything looks really good with this battery. Nice. So are the batteries at the top a bit warmer than at the bottom? They are. Maybe 1 degree. We measure here 34 degrees. And here at the bottom we measure like 33 degrees. So we are now several hours into the test. I don't know exactly. Oh, hang on. So we must be around 4 hours into the test, I guess. We are at 51.8 volt, still discharging with 53 amps. Deviation, perfect, 8 millivolt. Flat area of the curve, doesn't matter. BMS claims we have another 31.4% of the battery to go. I don't know why we still see the second trip protection here. Never seen this before, and it stays, it doesn't clear anymore. I don't know. Does anyone know what this is in the Seplos version 2 BMS? I have no idea. So, and we are now dipping under 47 volts, still going strong, 58, 59 amps. So the test will stop automatically when the first cell hits 2.5 volts. And then we have our result. Smart Shunt shows us 295 ampere hours, which is 15.3 kilowatt hours so far. The more cells are getting purple, the better it is, the more consistent these cells are. Well, we have now discharged the battery with 296.7 ampere hours. We are still going. Do we see the 299 or even 300? Very tight. So there we go. All the cells are under 2.9 volts now. 150 millivolt deviation. This will obviously go up now. And we may see a disconnect of the inverter before we actually hit 2.5 volts. So 298 ampere hours. 15.4 kilowatt hours so far. Amazing. That is really good. This is what we usually achieve with 304 ampere hour batteries, but not with a 280 ampere hour battery. We're watching cell number 10, 2.7, under 2.7 volts now, and we have 0.6 ampere hours to go to reach the 299. And now we can see the Tesla vehicle is actually taking less energy because it realized the voltage is going down. It has a weak AC input and therefore it takes less energy. Yeah, it charges only with 8 amps out of 11 we have set. Look at this, interesting. Because the voltage is only 213 volts. It's actually not too bad. So the Xia inverter is not able to stabilize the voltage anymore. 44 volts, 299.2 ampere hours. Fantastic. There we go. 15.5 kilowatt hours. Under 2.6, cell number 10. Yep, cell number 10 will be the one. Definitely. Oh, the fans are slowing down now. 43.7 volts. 2.55. 2.54. 300 ampere hours discharged. There we go, the Xia inverter. Now, single undervoltage protection, cell number 10, has reached the 2.5 volts. Everything has turned off. What a great result. 300 ampere hours and 15.5 kilowatt hours discharge from this one battery. That is amazing. Okay, we need to do several things now. First of all is turning off the inverter, because if the battery recharges a bit, this will turn on and the car starts charging as well. People always ask, how many kilometers have you charged into the car when you do these tests? Let's have a look. So we have added 96 kilometers during this last charging session. One Gobelpower battery, 280 ampere hours, fully discharged into the Tesla gives me close to 100 kilometers of range. That's not too bad, right? So obviously everything has now disconnected. The Seplos BMS has disconnected, no communication anymore. The smart shunt has disconnected. The only thing we can do now is turn on our charger, charge the battery up a bit until the BMS turns on. Okay, let's do that. 5 amps, I can see the light coming on the display. Yes, and the BMS is back. So if you have a single cell or pack under voltage protection, the Seplos BMS obviously turns completely off, doesn't talk to the master battery or to your inverter anymore, and it is only waiting for charge to come in. I think we have seen this before with the Pace BMS. Was it the Pace BMS? I can't remember. But one of them also completely turned off when we hit the low voltage disconnect. Okay, let's hit the gas. 21 amps into the battery. We need to bring the voltage up again so I can parallel this battery now with the other batteries, and then they dump all the energy into this battery, charge it up overnight, and then tomorrow morning when the sun comes out, they're all charged together up to 100%. So that's the plan. So I really wonder why the Seplos BMS is not updating to 299 or 300 ampere hours now, because we have done the full capacity measurement. I could do it manually and set the rated capacity from 280 ampere hours to 300 ampere hours. That's what we have measured. But I want to see, once we fully charge the battery again, if it then updates automatically. So, I mean, the Pace BMS does it perfectly. It measures and then updates the settings automatically. So you know exactly what the real capacity of your battery is every single time. And here the Seplos or the JK BMS, nah, they just follow what you have set in the settings. And that's it. But let's see when we fully charge. Okay, we want to do a bit of an experiment now. I want to connect the battery box back to our battery shelf, so I don't need to charge with 20 amps there with a power supply. We've got a bit more power in these batteries. So to do that, I just need to engage this circuit breaker here. It's a 66 amp DC circuit breaker. We've got 52, almost 53 volts in these batteries, and we have like 50, close to 50 volt in this battery. So 3 volts difference, but there will be a lot of current flowing. But of course we have got a bit of cabling. We've got a smart shunt, different connections here, the cabling, the Powerwall 2.0, an Anderson connector in between, cables here in the top compartment to the circuit breaker and back to the main bus bar system. So there is a bit of a resistance here with the cabling, and I hope this is enough to limit the current enough. Well, if not, I have set the charge overcurrent warning in the BMS to 80 amps. If we reach this for 1-2 seconds or so, the BMS will actually turn off charging and activate the charging limiter. So it will automatically actively limit the charging to 10 amps only then. I leave the screen recorder running here, and we flick the switch now and see how much amps we actually get. Maybe it trips straight away, I don't know. 3, 2, 1, go. It is on, it is holding 150 amps. 150 amps. Wow, that is okay. Now here it goes. Current limiting switch has kicked in and has limited the current to 10 amps. So all these inverter BMSs, they have a current limiter, and you can set either the overcurrent protection or the warning. And instead of the BMS turning off charging altogether, it limits the charging to 10 amps now. So, and the Seplos BMS will recheck after 5 minutes. So it closes the charging MOSFETs again after 5 minutes to find out if there are still too much current. If yes, the limiter will kick in again and protect all your circuits. And if the current is under 80 amps, it will actually allow this current to flow from one battery bank to the other battery banks. So it's a pretty cool safety feature in all these BMSs. I just wanted to demonstrate this again, how this works. Seplos and JK BMS have a 10 amp current limiter. The Pace and the Tanga Ting has got a 20 amp current limiter. Okay, my dear friends, I think this is it for tonight. Testing the Gobelpower lithium iron phosphate 280 ampere hour batteries, and we could discharge this 280 ampere hour battery with 300 ampere hours. So that is quite good. So you're getting a lot more capacity than you actually pay for. And also the Seplos vertical do-it-yourself battery box here had no issues coping with this 5-6 hour discharge test. The 200 amp Seplos BMS, rock solid. All the connections, bus bars, flexible bus bars, terminals, everything is perfectly designed and put together. Alright guys, as always, thank you so much for watching. Thanks for all your amazing support to all these beautiful and wonderful people out there who are donating to the channel. Thank you as well to all these other wonderful people who are leaving a comment, a like, sharing my videos. As you know, all this combined makes these videos possible. Until the next video guys, when we do the big battery comparison here on the channel, you stay charged, stay safe, and thanks again for watching. See you then. Bye bye. We still need to wait a couple of minutes until the Seplos BMS tries again. But now you can see the voltage has already risen. So you can actually leave this battery sitting there connected to these big batteries, and every 5 minutes it checks if the current is still too high, and the voltage will slowly rising until the delta is not too much anymore and the current limiter doesn't trigger anymore. Alright guys, see you in the next video.